by Taboola sponsored links promoted links. Type in your name, wait 10 seconds. Prepare yourself for the results. Check people subscription 20 disturbing rock and roll rumors that turned out to be true. Idolator. Today the British establishment will roll out the red carpet for a state sponsor of human rights abuser and a man guilty of crimes. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, will meet the Prime Minister, several cabinet ministers and members of the royal family. Advertising in red invented by Teeds. One of few senior figures he will not be introduced to is Jeremy Corbyn, a long-standing critic of the Saudi regime. No invitation was extended to the Labour leader. Britain's relations with Saudi Arabia are a classic example of realpolitik. It is one of the most repellent and repressive regimes in the world, but we have decided it is in our commercial and strategic interest to be its ally. To this extent, successive governments have turned a blind eye to its human rights abuses. More than 400 people have been executed since 2013, its funding of terrorist organizations including Hamas, and its complicity with ISIS in Syria. Mr. Corbyn has met with various dubious people over the years and is pilloried for talking to the IRA and calling Hamas friends. But it is noticeable how those on the right and left who rush to criticize Mr. Corbyn for the company he keeps find no difficulty in Britain cozying up to the Saudis. Don't expect any howls of outrage today from these moral guardians at the decision to host Prince Salman in Downing Street or parade him in front of the Queen, Prince Charles and Prince William. Theresa May has claimed Britain will stand up for our values when she holds talks with Prince Salman. If she were sincere about this, she would suspend all arms sales to Saudi Arabia until it ends its in Yemen, stops the blockade of Qatar, calls a halt to the censorship and repression, and shows it is earnest about women's rights. She may also wish to publish the Home Office report commissioned when she was Home Secretary into the foreign funding of terrorist groups. Amber Rudd will chair a meeting of the Emergency Committee, Cobra, this morning on the alleged poisoning of Sergei Skripal and his daughter. It would be a surprise if the Prime Minister was not asked about the incident that PMQs. If the intelligence points to a Kremlin-authorized assassination attempt, then ministers are faced with an almighty headache on how to respond. All the evidence suggests this is straight from the Vladimir Putin playbook, the fomenting of instability through black ops, propaganda and cyberfare. It is not yet proven the Kremlin was involved, but you can see why it would choose to take such brazen action at a time when the government is incapacitated by the process of Brexit. Chancellor Philip Hammond, Indiana, a rare moment of alliance with his Downing Street neighbour, will use a speech this morning to claim UK's financial services can still get a special Brexit deal. This afternoon, Donald Tusk, the President of the European Council, will unveil the EU's draft guidelines for the next phase of the negotiations. These are expected to make clear the UK's proposals to cherry-pick access to the single market are a non-starter. Brussels, which rarely puts politics before its adherence to the rules, says you cannot have same benefits of the single market, even if you promise to mirror EU rules and regulations, without accepting its obligations. Mr. Hammond argues the proposed transatlantic trade partnership proves the opposite. The EU is willing to do a deal on financial services if it's in its interest. Today's agenda: 12 p.m. Theresa May takes Prime Minister's questions. 1 p.m. The Queen hosts Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman at Buckingham Palace. 1:45 p.m. Philip Hammond gives a speech on Brexit and financial services. 2 p.m. approximately, Donald Tusk unveils the EU's draft guidelines for the next phase of the Brexit talks. 3:45 p.m. Britain's trade envoy at the Department for International Trade, Crawford Fawunser, gives evidence to the Public Accounts Committee. 4:30 p.m. Darren Jones MP leads a backbench debate on tipping practices in the hospitality sector. What I am reading: gripping but lengthy New Yorker investigation into the former British spy who uncovered Trump's links to Russia. What I'm listening to: the latest Eyes to the Left podcast.